Let me tell you something you probably won't believe, but it's the cold, hard truth. I failed. I failed every exam, and I failed in ways that would make anyone question whether success is even possible. You're probably thinking, how could someone who failed so badly ever turn things around? Well, this story is not what you think, because what I'm about to reveal to you is the real reason I failed and how I turned that failure into the very thing that made me the top scorer. Now, I know what you're thinking. Failure? That sounds like the end, but that's where you're wrong. Failure was just the beginning, and I'll prove it to you. Think back to the last time you didn't do well on a test or failed an exam. What did you do? Did you just accept it and tell yourself, it's just one test? Or maybe this isn't for me? I did that too, for years. I thought I was just unlucky, that maybe I wasn't built for success, and I was wrong. So wrong. The truth is, we all fail, and we all have excuses. But deep down, we know those excuses are just lies we tell ourselves to feel better. I convinced myself for years that maybe I wasn't meant to be at the top. Maybe I wasn't as smart as the others. You see, I let myself believe that the world was set up for winners and losers. But here's the real truth. The people who make it to the top, they're not the smartest. They're not the ones who get everything perfect. They're the ones who know how to turn failure into something valuable. I'm not here to tell you that I got lucky. I'm not here to tell you that everything changed overnight. But what I will tell you is this. The moment I stopped seeing failure as a setback and started seeing it as my greatest tool, everything changed. I'm going to break down exactly how I went from failing every exam to topping them. And no, it wasn't just about studying more or working harder. It was about a complete shift in how I thought, how I approached problems, and how I understood success. Let me be clear. The failure you're facing right now, it's not the end. It's the exact moment when everything can change for you. So, if you're tired of watching others succeed while you feel stuck in failure, if you're wondering why things aren't clicking for you, then this is the wake-up call you've been waiting for. I'm about to share the secrets that I wish someone had told me back when I was drowning in failure. So, listen closely. This is not just about me. It's about you, too. 1. Realization of the root cause of my failures. Let's start with the truth. My failures weren't because I was stupid or lazy. And trust me, I tried convincing myself that I was just unlucky. But as I look back now, I realized that the reason I failed every exam wasn't because I wasn't putting in the effort. It was because I was doing it wrong. There's a major difference between working hard and working smart. For years, I was trapped in the system, studying the way everyone told me to study, memorizing endless pages, repeating concepts I didn't even understand, just to get by. But guess what? That didn't work. Every time I saw someone getting better results, I thought they had some secret power, some magic formula that I didn't. What I didn't know then, but I do now, is that everyone is different. Everyone learns in a way that suits them, and not everyone is meant to be sitting in a classroom following the same set of rules. The first step in my transformation was realizing that the methods I was using weren't designed for me, and most importantly, weren't helping me. The power of self-assessment. Let's talk about the real game changer, self-assessment. I had to take a step back and ask myself the tough questions. Why am I failing? Why do I feel stuck? When I started to analyze my habits, I realized something shocking. I didn't even know how to study properly. No one had taught me how to break down information. No one told me the importance of understanding concepts instead of memorizing them. I was studying like a robot, not a human. And this, my friend, is the first key to success. You need to understand your own strengths and weaknesses. If you keep trying to fit into a mold that doesn't suit you, you'll never reach your full potential. I had to stop following the crowd and realize that the answer to success lay in myself. 3. Changing the approach to studying. Now, I know what you're thinking. Changing how you study sounds simple, but it's not. I had to do something that completely flipped my entire approach. I stopped focusing on the grades and started focusing on the process. Here's where I made the biggest shift. I started asking why before how. Why am I studying this? What is the purpose behind each subject? How can I apply what I learn in real life? Suddenly, everything became meaningful. I wasn't just memorizing chapters to pass the exam. I was learning because I genuinely wanted to understand the subject. This shift took time. It wasn't about suddenly becoming the best student overnight, but every time I studied with purpose, things started to make more sense. And with understanding came retention. With retention came better results. 4. Developing the right mindset. But here's the thing. None of the study hacks, none of the techniques I learned would have worked if I didn't have the right mindset. I had to stop seeing failure as the end and start seeing it as an opportunity for growth. Failure became my fuel. I didn't fear failure anymore. I embraced it. I realized that every time I failed, I was learning something new about myself. And every failure was just a lesson in disguise. When you stop seeing failure as a defeat and instead as a lesson, it transforms you from a person who just gets by to someone who actively grows from their mistakes. 5. Creating a system that works for me. Now, this is where I really started to separate myself from the others. I stopped following the generic advice of study for X hours a day and read every chapter, and I began to design a study system that worked specifically for me. Here's what worked. I broke my study sessions into small, digestible chunks. No more sitting down for hours at a time. I worked in 45-minute blocks with breaks in between. The key is focus. I used active recall. Instead of rereading notes over and over, I would test myself on the material. This helped me retain information long-term. I created a routine, but I kept it flexible. I didn't restrict myself to a rigid schedule. Some days I would study 2 hours, other days maybe 5, depending on how I was feeling and what I needed to focus on. I got rid of distractions. This meant keeping my phone away, studying in a quiet environment, and making sure that every study session had a clear, defined goal. This system, combined with the right mindset, started producing results. And soon, I wasn't just scraping by, I was excelling. 6. Learning from others and improving every day. And here's the final piece of the puzzle: learning from others. I didn't just rely on my own experience. I started surrounding myself with people who were where I wanted to be. I didn't ask them for shortcuts or tricks. I asked them how they thought about problems, how they approached challenges. It was about building a community of like-minded individuals who were striving for more, just like me. I constantly asked for feedback and used that to make myself better. I didn't take things personally. Instead, I took them as opportunities for improvement. 7. The transformation. So, what happened? Slowly, but surely, I went from someone who couldn't pass a single exam to someone who was topping the class. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was a shift in perspective, in approach, and in mindset. I stopped playing the victim and started playing the game. I started taking control of my own learning and my own future. And that's how I turned failure into my greatest asset. The same method can work for you too. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about not giving up when things get tough and learning how to bounce back from setbacks. If I can do it, so can you. So now you know the truth. I wasn't born a topper. I didn't have some secret talent. I didn't have rich tutors, fancy apps, or some miracle strategy. What I did have was failure. Brutal, painful, soul-crushing failure. And I used it. I chose not to let it define me, but to let it build me. And maybe you're in that same place right now. Maybe you're watching this, wondering if you can ever turn it around. Maybe you've started to believe you're not good enough, smart enough, or disciplined enough. Let me tell you right now, that belief is the only thing holding you back. Not your marks, not your school, not your circumstances. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this. You are one decision away from a completely different life. The decision to stop blaming and start taking control. The decision to stop studying to survive and start studying to understand. The decision to stop being afraid of failure and start using it as fuel. Don't let your past failures define your future identity. Let them rebuild you. Because if someone like me, who failed every exam, can turn it around and become the topper, then what's stopping you? Absolutely nothing. Your comeback starts now.